Let's go to a super chat now from Antoine Myers. Thank you, my man. Dak has a better team than Wilson, and Wilson still balls out more. I don't trust Dak without the best players around him. I think that's fair. I think that's a very fair assessment, and that's why I think that Dak Prescott is not as good as Russell Wilson. If you offered me Russell or Dak right now, it's Wilson every single time. I might have a little bit more faith in Dak with lesser players around him, but there's no doubt, I think, in 85 to 95% of people watching right now, that Russell Wilson's here and Dak Prescott's here. Keep rolling now with some more comments from William Pete. Is a D-Law trade possible? It's definitely possible. But I think there's a direct correlation between the timing of the NFL draft and Demarcus Lawrence's value. The closer we get to the draft, the less that Tank's value is. I think the reality is the Cowboys didn't plan this very well, and Tank's attitude and moves have not helped either overall. If you were going to trade Demarcus Lawrence, you wanted to do it early in free agency when the mass amount of available options was still available to you. The Niners aren't going to do it now because they're going to trade it for D Ford. Teams like the Packers, for example, already signed 2 edge guys. So it's almost the Colts or bust on that one. So it's possible, but the longer we go, I kind of feel like it's a little bit unlikely, especially in terms of getting really good value back. From Facebook now on Lee Thomas, he says the wide receivers from Georgia, Ridley or Hardman. I like Mecole Hardman more. I think he brings you more athletic upside, and I still kind of want a guy that can help in a big way on returns, especially if you're going to have Randall Cobb on your roster. If you're going to draft a receiver in round 2 and have him be your number 4 guy, he should help on returns and get the ball in his hands at least a little bit. So from that perspective, sign me up for Hardman there. I don't think round 2, but if he's there in round 3, I'm all for it. David Runyon 03, do we have the cap space to give Dak an extension this year? Yes, you do. And I think in reality, the reason you haven't had much Dak discussion is that once you get Tank an extension, that's going to bring down his number too. Now, you spent big on Robert Quinn. That kind of really cut into your cap space overall. It's going to be NFLP, I think, had it at like 6, but the Quinn contract, I'm not sure how it's actually going to impact it. Might be more like 8. You can free up more money pretty easily, though. So, yes, you have the cap space to give Dak an extension, especially because next year you've got all kinds of money available for free agency and, more importantly, signing your own players. From Nasir, I don't think Dak can ask for the same money as Russell because Russell was proven and has won a Super Bowl. I agree. I don't think any team should give Dak Prescott Russell Wilson money. But if you ignore the Super Bowl, the Russell Wilson we saw in his first 3 years is very similar to the Dak Prescott we've seen in the first 3 years. I would almost go so far as to say the difference was coaching overall. Now, Wilson definitely took steps forward as he's gone along that I don't think or know we're ever going to see Dak Prescott take. Russell's a top 5 quarterback. I don't believe that Dak Prescott's going to be that guy. That's why my projections have not been him getting a number 1 overall quarterback deal. But when you open negotiations, you tend to start high. You're going to start with Russell Wilson. I don't think Dak will get Russell Wilson money, but he'd be foolish not to at least try to ask for it. James Laws, is Anthony Nelson still on the radar for the 3rd round? As good as he is worth a second considering the Tank drama? I don't want Nelson in round 2. I could see that being an option if the safeties are gone, but I would really like a draft of safety in round 2 and someone like Anthony Nelson in round 3 to eventually be a replacement, I think, down the road for Tyrone Crawford. I think James put this earlier in the comments too. Kind of has that inside-outside positional flex. Super chat coming in now from Chase Dyer. Could we get Winovich? I would like Chase Winovich in round 2. I think he'd be a good option on the edge there. Would be kind of more of a rotational guy alongside Robert Quinn for a year. I don't think Chase is going to be on the board, though, at pick number 58. There's a pretty big gap after your top-tier edge rushers of Furl and Bosa and Allen and Sweat and even Rashawn Gary in that mix for the way the NFL views him. So once you get out of those top 6 or so guys, Brian Burns too, there's a big drop-off to the Chase Winoviches, the Zach Allens, the Anthony Nelsons that I think could push them up into the top 40, top 50, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of them even went late round 1. Zarkanian Jones, Why do you think the NFL's marijuana rules should be relaxed? Randy Gregory shouldn't be a poster boy at all. He's wasting his talent getting involved with illegal substances. I think it comes down to the main thing. You can drink beer, you can't smoke marijuana. I think the NFL is a little too draconian overall with the way their rules are in place right now. I don't think there's anything that bad with marijuana. No different than getting drunk. So I don't have a big problem there with it. If you're against it, well, I understand where you're coming from there. Joe N., should we trade D-Law for a first and get Bosa? If you can trade Demarcus Lawrence for the number 2 overall pick and take Nick Bosa, sure. Trade it for number 3 and get Josh Allen or Quinnen Williams too. But I don't know if the Jets or the Niners want to say, yes, you know what? We're gonna trade our premier number 3 overall pick, and most importantly, a cheap contract for the next 5 years, and then pay DeMarcus Lawrence $23 million. If you can do it, do it. I don't think that's how the NFL typically operates. I mean, look what the Bears gave up for Khalil Mack. Wasn't even the number 3 overall pick. From Twiz, I'm just gonna botch us. I'm just gonna go with Twiz here. What do you think of Thompson from Alabama? He means Deonte Thompson. I'm intrigued. He's been banged up this pre-draft process. I don't know which Deonte Thompson we'd get. Are you going to get the early season Thompson, who I thought was going to be a top 10 pick because he was all over the field making plays, or the end of season Thompson, who looked just outright lost and confused out there? Probably somewhere in the middle, which actually might make him an option at number 58 overall. Fernando Gonzalez, who, fun fact, by the way, we'll get to our mailbag. This is actually in our mailbag too, so we'll bring it up now. Can we play Jaylon, Leighton, Vander, Esch, and Sean Lee at the same time, move Smith to Sam, and have one blitz a lot? I would like to see Dallas experiment with that. Because you definitely don't want, in terms of your base packages, you're going to have a Sam, which is your strong side linebacker, who tends to be closer to the line of scrimmage and takes on more blocks. You don't want Sean Lee being that guy. Leighton Vander Esch proved last year, let him be your weak side linebacker that runs and chases and makes tackles. Jaylon can be a strong side linebacker, so I like the idea of having, if it's just only a couple of packages, 10 snaps a game even. In base downs, you put Jaylon at the Sam spot and let him blitz more. He's a good blitzer. He's, in fact, one of the best off-ball linebackers in terms of blitzing in the NFL. I like that idea. I don't know if the Cowboys will, but I think it'd be a really good use of all 3 linebackers' talents. You want to get the best 11 guys on the field. That's how you do it at the linebacker spot. Gabriel Rodriguez, can we get Gerald McCoy? The Bucs have been trying to trade him, and they have no takers, because no one wants to take on McCoy's $13 million salary this year. That's where we sit. So from that perspective, it's possible. I don't think it's likely. Now, if he gets cut, or if he's willing to do a significant pay cut, I'm talking like 50%, then maybe you can make a deal happen there. So I am open. I am intrigued by the idea, but I'm leaning towards no right now. Scott Fowler, any chance you could trade for Wilson, #PipeDream? I mean, if you're the Cowboys, you have to do it quietly because you can't let word getting out to Dak on that front. But if I were in charge, you bet your butt I'd be trying to explore a trade for Wilson. He's a fantastic quarterback. What's the difference between paying Russell Wilson an extra $7 million more, even if it's per year? I'd do it. The problem is, A, $7 million's a lot, and B, you'd have to include draft picks. And for Seattle's side of it, do they want to pay Dak Prescott big money if they're not going to pay Wilson big money? That's a big question mark for me. Robert Esch, hopefully I got your last name right there. How realistic is it that we draft a cornerback in the 2nd round? Reports that there's a lot of interest in Jojuan Williams out of Vanderbilt. I'm not going to read too much into a lot of interest as it relates to Jojuan Williams because he didn't run that well. But Chris Richard has been doing the rounds with big, lanky cornerbacks. Isaiah Johnson from Houston. A couple of the Kentucky cornerbacks as well. Richard has his MO. He likes big, long, and guys that are still pretty quick. It's not really Williams. I don't think that's a round 2 option. If the Cowboys go one of the Williams, be it Jojuan or Isaiah Johnson or Lonnie Johnson in round 2, I'll be a little bit disappointed. But I think if you can get to early day 3 and then round 3, which is a late pick, maybe it makes some sense. So it's possible, but I lean towards more unlikely right now. Today's show was brought to you guys by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use that promo code Cowboys120 for a 120% deposit bonus. You put down $50, they're going to give you $60 for free. You'll make all kinds of money on some NFL draft prop bets with BetDSI coming out here in just a little bit. That's chatsports.com/bet, promo code Cowboys120. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.